Hi Liz! Here's your makeup tutorial. It's finally here. And as she's saying, she literally just woke up, so don't judge her too much. First, you want to get your hair at your face, and let's get your skin prep started. For this one, I'm pretty sure I just did serum, moisturizer, dried it a bit, and then not sunscreen, but you should do sunscreen because I didn't think I was going out today. Lip balm, dry it down, and this is just so your makeup doesn't pill or cake. Finally, it is time for makeup. Now these are the points where you want to conceal under the brows, under the eye bags, any discoloration or any acne marks. It's up to you. I also do some highlighting points here, but I actually do my brows first. This is the spoolie side, and we want to take it and brush your eyebrow hairs upward. This is so we can discover any empty spaces where you have to fill in with product. Just follow the natural shape of your eyebrows. I don't really think too hard on this. I'm actually not that good in drawing my brows, but all I know is you do not want to use a heavy hand. You want to avoid Sharpie brow and Nike brow at all costs. You want to use a really light hand, and using upward flicking motions to mimic eyebrow hairs, fill in these spaces where you are missing hair. And if you go in too hard, you can use your finger or the spoolie side again to blend out the product. Don't worry, you can always clean this up later with this concealer here. So now I'm going to be placing concealer where I mentioned earlier, under the eyes in this C shape. I learned that on Xiaohongshu. Do I know why we do this? Not really, but I find that this placement works way better, looks way less cakey on me. Under the brows to clean up the product that we did earlier, fixing any discoloration by placing concealer on top of it, acne scars, and adding some highlight. So up close, this is the placement, and afterward you want to dry it a bit because you want the product to get a bit more pigmented. This is the concealer brush in comparison to a clean brush. That's kind of embarrassing. Now using a really light hand, you want to blend out the edges. You don't want to swipe or necessarily fully move or drag the product. You just want to blend it gently downward and inward like so. Pulling the product in but not dragging and swiping it so it looks streaky. You just want to use the least amount of product to cover the most amount of ground as possible, because you can always add but you can't take away. So you're going to take your time blending that and look at that difference. Now we're just going to do that for the rest of the face. So for under the brows, I do the same principle, taking the harsh edges of the product and blending it in. Not necessarily moving the product, but trying to blend it into the skin. If you put in too much product under the brow, you can feel free to use some of it on the eyelid as well. And just do that for the rest of the Z face. It's at this point where I would go in and use cream products. So for example, cream blush, cream eyeshadow. I'm not doing that today, so I'm just gonna go in with the setting spray already. We're going to be doing the sandwich method, which is doing the setting spray later on as well, but you want to dry all the setting spray down first before moving on to the powder. Now, I don't want you to go in with a puff first. I actually want you to go in with a really fluffy brush like this, take the product and tap off the excess, and with a really light hand, set the cream products. The reason why we're doing this is to make sure the makeup doesn't move around throughout the day, but also to set your face to make sure it's not oily or greasy. And the reason why I don't want you to go in immediately with the powder puff is because sometimes you can take too much product on it and the base will just look cakey overall and it'll look like dry patches. So introducing it slowly works a little bit better. Now I want you to hold your powder puff like this, middle finger in the middle under the band and 2 over. Not all 3 under the band because then the product will disperse unevenly. So take the product like so, tap off the excess, and set under the eyes. You specifically want to set under here so it doesn't move around, and your T-zone because of how oily you get. Smile. You can also use your setting spray for this. I believe you got the matte version, but it's good to practice as well, because this is the same method you're going to use when you touch up your makeup throughout the day when you get a little bit oily. Now we're going to move on to the eye makeup. This is the palette that I have. You have a different one. I'm going to be refraining from any shimmers today because you don't have any. I'm going to take this shade and put it on the outer half of my eyelid. Honestly, I don't really do much for my eyelids regarding eye makeup because this is more of a natural daily look that I do more than a glammed up version. So I just take this light shadow and put it in the inner half of my eye. This is just to give my eye a bit more dimension and depth. And usually I would take a shimmer and put that in the middle, but because we're not doing that today, I believe I eventually put a highlighter color in the middle there, but I do that later. I probably move on to, eggosal makeup. So we're going to be putting those 3 shades in this triangular section here under the eye. This is to give my eye a bit more of a socket, if that makes any sense. It gives a place for the eggosal to extend. Now please note to remember to not get impatient here. You can always add, you can't take away, so if pigment isn't coming off as strong as you like, just feel free to add more and more until you get the shade that you want. We're going to be taking the dark colors and outlining the eggosal and that socket that we just made. You can smile and see the little bag of fat, I guess, is the translation under the eye. Taking these 2 colors specifically and drawing that line until the end of my eye, and following that fat line from earlier. I guess you can call it a crease, but we're just trying to make it so it's more prevalent. It makes you just look more youthful, IMO. When drawing your eggosal, make sure you look far and close to make sure those lines aren't too harsh or unnatural. Now I believe we're going to be drawing our wing. We're going to be taking those 2 same colors from earlier alongside the darkest color of the art class palette that we have here for contour, and just extending the crease of our eye like so. You're going to be taking your can make and filling that in later on, but we're just going to be using this eyeshadow to create a guideline. I don't believe I go in with the can make one here because this is just my daily look and eyeshadow is way more forgiving. Now I'm going in with the same colors to touch up my eggosal as well. And now I'm going to highlight the eggosal, taking this flat edge brush and some concealer. Make sure to wipe off the excess and highlight in between those 2 eggosal lines we just drew earlier. This is just to open the eye a bit more. And taking the 2 lightest shadows of the palette to set down that concealer that we just put down. Make sure to tap off the excess, and I'm going to be also using the same 2 colors to highlight my inner corner because that opens the face a bit more. I know I highlight the nose bridge and the tip of my nose here. I'm probably going to go in with more later because I love highlighting, but it's also important to highlight the other parts of your face where the light hits you. So the cupid's bow, the cheekbone. Here it is. I place a matte highlighting shadow in the middle to blend the 2 eyeshadows together from earlier. I would usually put a shimmer there because it makes it look more seamless, but such is life. This is a more natural and daily look. Moving on to blush, this is actually a very personal preference one. I like to take a shade and blend out the eggosal line at the bottom, and then I take a big fluffy brush like this and take the same shades, these are the 2 shades that I'm taking, pack them onto the brush, tap off the hella excess to not look like a clown, and I guess the word is stipple, like I tap it onto my face rather than drag because I don't want to ruin the base that we just spent so much time on. Blush placement definitely depends on the person, and I left a bunch of examples in the guide I sent you. But for blush placements, I also like putting it on the cupid's bow and under the nose to make me look a bit more warm and sun-kissed. Now moving on to contour. This art class palette is actually really forgiving, and I mix it all roughly with this brush. But for you, use this angled brush. It basically works the exact same, and any of the eyeshadow brushes that we just used. So I'm gonna go in, mix it all around, tap off the excess, and there are multiple ways to do it. Some people do it in this downward motion. Recently, I've been doing this V shape across the bottom of my, across the bottom of my face. I just go in. This product is really forgiving because it's not as pigmented. I put it on the sides of my face here, my big ass forehead. It kind of looks muddy right now, but I swear it looks better later because I also have a head of hair. And then taking the excess under my chin and under my nose to make it look a bit more upturned. Then for nose contour, I honestly need to figure out a better way to do my nose contour, but just follow the shadows of your face. The whole reason we do contouring in general is to add more dimension to our face, because earlier we made our entire face a canvas, so now we want to add the darkness in comparison to the highlights. We've done majority of our makeup here. I'm going in and darkening the wing to show you how I clean it up. You would use your can make here and fill in where your guidelines were earlier. I'm taking that same flat brush from earlier and cleaning it up here, drawing a line with the concealer under the wing to make it look more sharp. Now I'm going to connect with the two dark eyeshadows from earlier to the middle of my pupil. That way, so when you close your eyes, the makeup looks more natural instead of just a random triangle outside of your eyes. And don't get sad if your eyeliner or your eyebrows look more like relatives than sisters. Look, my shit are cousins. You're going to take your setting spray and your fan again and set that down, and we're going to move on to mascara. This is the mascara that you have, and you're going to take your eyelash curler, which is your Shiseido one, and you're going to curl it in this upward C motion, and I'm going to demonstrate it here. So get all your lashes under the eyelash curler and clamp it down. You can experimentally clamp down. Make sure not to pull on the eyelash curler and hold it down for about 10 seconds. Then do a repeated clamp for 5 pumps, and then move it upward in that C formation earlier. Do 5 clamps, upward 5 clamps until you're done with your lash. And it should come out looking like so, upturned. Feel free to repeat this process over and over until you're satisfied with the shape of your lash. And the reason why we curl our lashes in general is because we want to look more awake. When putting on mascara, you actually want to do it from the middle section to the tips and avoiding the roots at all costs, because that would cause your Asian lashes to go downturned. I know that I'm a victim of that especially. And this specific mascara is very natural, so it's not going to look like a lot. This is a more natural and daily look rather than a glam look. When choosing a mascara, make sure it is waterproof. I try to stick to the Asian brands because I know that they'll work for my Asian lashes. And look at that, my eye looks way more open. Do it for the lower lashes as well. You don't have to use your eyelash curler for this. Honestly, it's kind of scary. And use the tip of the eyelash wand to separate and clump the lashes as you wish. And this is the last step, which is lip product. Today I'm going to be using a lip tint that I will dry down and then put a gloss on top. But for you, I recommend to get a tinted lip balm so you can just lather it on and reapply it throughout the day without getting too worried. I just do this method because I barely have to reapply throughout the day because it tints my lips, and then I can just reapply my clear gloss and not worry. That, my friend, is the finished look. Usually, I would put on some glitter, and I've had this Wet n Wild palette for fucking years. I've had this since 2020, I think. That's crazy. It's been 5 years. You should definitely throw out your stuff when it's expired, but I don't care. This is the highlight color I would usually use. This is the glitter I would use, and then this is the blush that I would use. Usually, I pivot between like red and oranges because I'm a warm tone, but I would take a really small brush like this, pick up the light color and then like a little bit of the shimmer, and I'd put it literally like right in the middle, not all across because all across would make my eyes look way too puffy, but I'd put it right in the middle, bunch like so, and it opens my eye a little bit more than the other side, if you can tell, like right here. Like that. I like to highlight this a little bit more, just a little, and then I would take just like the white shade, not the shimmer, and just put it here, and it just opens the face a bit more. that is the makeup tutorial. I probably will put on an outfit. I have to go to the bank today, which is the only reason why I was so willing to put on all this makeup. So give me a hot second. Okay.
Oh yeah, look.
Okay.
I prestiged.
I didn't put on earrings. Oops. But fit. Good. The completed look. Yay! Okay, I'm gonna go to the bank now.